Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited for this segment. Alex, you decided to have us all pick a Mount Rushmore for each four major sport. So we're going to kind of go around the horn here, and we're going to talk about it. So I'm excited. Alex, take it away.
Yeah, so Traden, so you know, Mount Rushmore, there are four heads up there. So I wanted you to pick four people. It's all good, buddy. We'll get to them. So also to kind of put a twist on it, I know if you guys have listened to these podcasts before, the guys kind of, we all kind of tend to fit in our one sport. So I wanted them to not do that one and kind of, stretch their legs out, kind of check out some other sports. So let's start with the NBA, with, the finals just ending the other night. So James, you tasked with picking the basketball Mount Rushmore. Let's hear your four, and then I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Fantastic. Number one, I think this is easy, common. Michael Jordan. Hands down, 6-time NBA champion. It's Michael Jordan. He was the face of the NBA. He made the NBA what it was. He's the GOAT. He's number one on that list. Number two, I have Magic Johnson. He only played 12 years in the league, but he was a 5-time NBA champ. He was a 6'9" point guard. He was the all-time leader in assist per game at 11.2. He's part of what made the Lakers. And he was part of that amazing Lakers-Celtics rivalry. Number three, I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 6-time NBA champ, 20 years in the league. He's the all-time NBA scoring leader, all-time leader in field goals made, all-time leader of career wins. He's third all-time in rebounds and block shots. And he also created the skyhook. So if you guys ever seen that in any movie, that's because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And lastly, this is the one where people probably won't agree with me on, but this is how I feel pretty strongly about this, and it's very personal for me. But I'm going to go with Kobe Bryant. 5-time NBA champ, 2-time final MVP, one time, 18-time All-Star, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. When I first started watching basketball, Kobe was basketball. I started watching in like 98 or something, and he was the guy ever since then. I pretty much watched him as I grew up, and watching him play and watching the Lakers are very near and dear to my heart, which is why I picked Kobe Bryant to be my fourth on Mount Rushmore.
Okay. So I agree with you on a few of them. I've definitely got MJ. You can't not have Michael Jordan. Kareem was my honorable mention. I did sort of cheat a little bit, and my fourth one was Magic / Larry Bird. I know that's kind of cheating, but when you talk about Magic, you have to talk about Larry Bird and vice versa. When they were coming into the league and going back to back in the finals all the time, the NBA really started to falter. Their viewership was going down, so they kind of saved basketball a little bit. So the other two that I had were LeBron, 10 NBA finals in his career. It was a little bit of a shout out, obviously, since they just won the other night. He's the all-time leader in points scored in the playoffs, which is just incredible. And the fact that he's still doing it in year 17. And then I had Bill Russell, a little bit of a shout out to our last podcast, 11 championships, 8 in a row. He kind of changed the game. He and Wilt Chamberlain were sort of the first two big men to really dominate. And I know with Steph and the Warriors, that has kind of changed now. But Bill Russell was kind of an innovator, and I thought that he deserved a spot on that list. But James, good job. Definitely wasn't as terrible as I thought you were going to do.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding, man. You killed it. I'm proud of you.
What about Phil Jackson?
Yeah, I didn't put any coaches on any of my lists. I thought about that. Definitely someone's
probably there too.
Yeah, Popovich and Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach for the Celtics back in the day are definitely some good ones though, for sure. Okay, Tyler, moving on to hockey. I'm pretty sure at least one of these guys everyone would have on their list. But let's hear what you got.
Yeah, so starting off with the obvious one, Wayne Gretzky. I mean, this is probably the easiest pick of any of the Mount Rushmores, I think.
Yeah.
He's called the Great One for a reason. I mean, NHL's all-time leader in points, assists, and goals. We talked about him last week a ton and all the records he holds. It's absolutely ridiculous. When he retired in 1999, he held 61 NHL records. 61. That is absolutely ridiculous. One of the very few players that went to the Hall of Fame like right away after he retired. He got waived the waiting period. That's pretty insane. He's also the only player in the NHL to have his jersey retired league-wide, number 99. So obviously Wayne Gretzky's up there. Number two, I got Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, played 26 NHL seasons. Before Wayne Gretzky came along, he was the previous record holder for goals and assists in the NHL. 23-time All-Star. He is still the record holder for most games and seasons played in hockey all time. 4-time Stanley Cup champion. Only player to have played in the NHL in 5 different decades. He played from the 40s to the 80s. That's pretty insane. And then, of course, he came up with the Gordie Howe hat trick is named after him, which is a huge hockey thing, which is getting a goal, an assist, and getting in a fight all in the same game. So that guy is a classic. I think when I first started watching hockey, he was one of the first guys that I think I heard about that I hadn't watched played, that was just constantly mentioned, constantly talked about as one of the greatest of all time. So I got Gordie Howe number 2. At number 3, I got Alex Ovechkin, Ovi. For me, I Trading Space was not very pleased with me. Okay, but here's my case. For me,
that's pretty good.
For me, he's the best modern day goal scorer in the NHL right now. He scored 52 points in his first season and has not looked back. He has led the NHL in goals scored in a season 9 times, which is a record. He has 3 Hart trophies and 1 Stanley Cup in 2019. Or 2018, excuse me. For me, this is the most modern, I think, most exciting player of our generation. Of course, he's getting a little up there in age. There's a ton of guys that are coming in to kind of take over that spot. But for me, Alex Ovechkin is one of the most exciting, most modern day players of his time. So I'm going with Ovi at 3. And at number 4, Hayley Wickenheiser. All right, female hockey player for Team Canada. All-time leader in goals and assists for Team Canada, won 4 gold medals and 1 silver medal for Canada at the Olympics, twice named the tournament MVP. She was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2019. She also played Olympic softball for Canada in 2000. So multi-sport athlete, multi-Olympic athlete, so beast of an athlete. She's also the first woman to score a goal in a men's professional hockey league. She did that in Finland. And she's currently the assistant director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So she's an absolute beast. I think she deserves a spot on that list for sure. And that concludes my hockey Mount Rushmore.
Okay, trade and go for it. Give your 30 seconds.
How can you rate Alex Ovechkin over Sidney Crosby?
Yeah, okay.
Sidney Crosby is the greatest player in our generation. He is all the way through 200-foot game. He is the greatest. Better than Connor McDavid.
Ovechkin's the best Russian. He's the best Russian.
Okay. Here's the thing. When I was deciding, I wanted to have a more modern guy, and I was honestly deciding between Crosby and Ovechkin. But I didn't want to have 4 Canadians on Mount Rushmore. I needed someone to represent. Hockey is a world sport. We need someone from a different country on that list. I needed Ovi representing. I don't want a Canada sweep. I mean, Canada deserves to have 3 spots. They're they created hockey. They're the best hockey country in the world. They deserve a lot of spots, but I didn't want to. I don't want a clean Canada sweep up there. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's why we're Ovi.
Conclusion. That's just absurd. You could have picked anybody else, but Alex. I mean, I love Alexander Ovechkin, but damn, dude.
Patrick Kane.
No.
USA.
Definitely.
Yeah. I really wanted Tyler American, but I went with Ovi.
Oh.
Yeah, Tyler, I don't know what you're doing with your hands there.
Sorry. Been watching the debate.
So I do agree with you. The Great One and Mr. Hockey have got to be on that list. I have Martin Brodeur, the all-time leader in goalie wins by a lot. I knew he was ahead, and then when I looked it up, it's by like 130 wins. He's got 691 of them. So he was on my list. And then so I have 2 forwards, a goalie, and then a defenseman. I got Bob Orr.
Oh yeah.
He really changed the game. Before he was in the league, defensemen were defensemen. He sort of became the first guy to really have an offensive mindset as a defensive player. So I had to pick him to make my top list. And then I had Mario Lemieux as an honorable mention. He was a tough one to exclude. But man, there's just a lot of great hockey players. The game's been around for a long time. Okay, we're moving on. Football. Eric, what do you got?
You guys are going to be rattled with me after hearing all your guys's. All right, number 1, Bill Belichick. The guy's a genius. He's got 6 championships. So does Michael Jordan. Bill Belichick could have more. He's one of the most successful coaches in sports history. And usually, like of recent, he just is counted out at the beginning of the season. Everyone keeps thinking the Patriots aren't going to be that they're not going to make the playoffs. They make the playoffs. They make the Super Bowl. They beat teams like my Rams and other teams. But yeah, you got to mention Bill Belichick. His system always works. We'll see this year though with Cam Newton. Next, I got Jim Brown. Broke the most major rushing records of all time. Only player to average over 100 yards rushing per game his entire career. 5.2 yards per rush, second best among running backs. He just has endless accomplishments. He's one of the biggest role models for the NFL running backs to this day. James, my third one, Jerry Rice. Widely regarded as the greatest wide receiver in NFL history. Leader in most career major stats for wide receivers, receptions, touchdowns, and receiving yards. All three pretty important. Has scored the most points in his position. Also a three-time Super Bowl champion. Holds over 100 NFL records. That's the most by any player in the NFL. Last but not least, you guys are going to probably be rattled. Tom Brady. I hate to have two Patriots on the Mount Rushmore, two people from that organization. But just from what I've seen in my lifetime, I have to pick him. I just always see that guy win Super Bowls. He wins like Joe Montana in the playoffs, and then he gets all these stats like Peyton Manning in the season. In other words, he has it all. He's pretty much one of the most successful NFL QBs. And I think a big reason is Bill Belichick's systems, but I had to throw him in there.
Okay, I like your list. Again, I stayed away from coaches, so I did not have Bill Belichick on there. I did have Tom Brady and Jerry Rice. And then I picked Walter Payton. Him and Jim Brown, I was kind of going back and forth on. And then to get a defenseman in there, I put Lawrence Taylor. He's probably the most wrecking defensive player of all time. I was trying, not to do all offense. So I got one QB, one wide receiver, one running back, and a defensive player. So I was trying to get all over there. James, you give me a heads up. You got something you want to trash Eric's? You trying to trash mine?
A little bit of both.
Cool.
For the most part, football, it's tough, man, because you got to pick four people that fits so many different positions. That's hard to do. Eric, if you're going to pick a coach, don't pick Belichick. You got to go George Halas, dude. George Halas practically invented football, had 8 Super Bowl wins. You got to go with him over Belichick. Easy. Walter Payton, I totally agree with. Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Walter Payton's a stand-up guy. But I like you guys' list overall.
Okay. I'm glad you're okay with it. Thank you for your approval.
Yeah.
Okay, traded. Baseball, very last one. What do you got?
All right. Well, I think everyone has that one player, and obviously this player for baseball has to be Babe Ruth. I mean, he's kind of synonymous with the game. He's just legendary. Everybody knows him, and when you think baseball, he's there. He's best known for being, a slugger, outfielder for the Yankees, but he also started out his career as a pretty solid pitcher. So he can kind of do it all, which is pretty impressive. He's a great Bambino. What else do I have to say? There's nothing else to say. It's kind of says it all there. I would say number 2 would be Jackie Robinson. He was a great baseball player, but I think obviously he's best known for breaking the color barrier, allowing African-Americans to join the MLB. He's the only his number is the only one retired in the MLB, which is pretty amazing. And I think that's kind of a given. Definitely. Then I go with Cy Young. I know that he may not be the best pitcher, but I think he's the most well known. There's a freaking award named after him that that pitchers are kind of trying to, emulate. And he's just kind of synonymous with one of the most important positions in the game. So I think I'd have to go to Cy Young. And then my 4th, I guess, would be Hank Aaron. Between 1954 and 1976, he's most known for his 755 home runs and owns the record for the most RBI in a career at 2,297. So he's kind of the big slugger that you got to put up there. Again, I don't know a lot about baseball, but those kind of 4 guys kind of stick out to me.
Okay. So I actually agree with your first 3. Babe Ruth has to be on there. Jackie Robinson has to be on there. And then Cy Young, I talked about him last week during Eric's records segment, and all those wins, all those complete games. Again, there's an award named after him. So the only one I differed on is I put Roberto Clemente as my number 4. I think it's time baseball retires his number throughout, like they did with Jackie Robinson. Just obviously a great player. He finished his career with exactly 3,000 hits, probably the best arm in the outfield of almost ever seen. Tragically died early in a plane crash, being a humanitarian. And then kind of like the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, there's the Roberto Clemente award, which is sort of the same thing, given to the player who best exemplifies giving to his community. I liked your list. There's obviously so many guys that could go on any of these. Do either of you guys want to, or anyone want to throw out other baseball players you want to toss out there? Go for it, Ty.
I think with the pitching one, I wouldn't have gone with Cy Young. Obviously, he's a legend and rightfully so. I just think with the time and stuff that he pitched at, it's just the stats are so wonky because of that. And so for me, when I think of just dominant pitchers and guys that are just absolute legends, the first guy that I think about is Nolan Ryan. I think he was an absolute stud. I think it's between him, Bob Gibson, and Sandy Koufax. So those would be the 3 pitchers I would actually pick over Cy Young for the Mount Rushmore. But it's so hard. There's so many great pitchers, so many great players in baseball. But I would not have gone with Cy Young. I would have gone with one of those other 3 guys.
Okay, I'm going to disregard James's comment. We won't even let the viewers know what that was. And then my last one is Frank Robinson. He's the only player to win MVP in both leagues. He was my last kind of honorable mention. But other than that, that's my list. If you guys want to give us your list, let us know. But mine were the best, obviously. But thanks, guys.
All right, Alex, thanks for it. That was fun.